Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We are back to the bench side here, and we are working on our Mobius rust bucket frame here. We're going to do the frame. We're going to get this all settled up. So what we're going to use, I'm going back to some stuff that I used to use years ago. So we're going to use these here. These here, this is oil and this is watercolor. I like the two, to mix the two, because the oil is so smooth. I mean, this stuff's like butter. And this stuff has a little texture to it, but you can texture this a little bit, and I use sponges. So I had to dig these out of my railroad cabinet here. I'm not sure if these started yellow, if they're white, I don't remember, but I've had them for like ever. So these little beauty wedge sponges, these work really good. So you take these guys here, and I'll take Mr. Scissors, and I'll usually cut them in half or in a couple pieces, because you don't need the whole thing at once anyways. And besides, easier to work with it in a smaller spot. Make sure I keep you guys in frame. I have a tendency of doing that. I notice when I'm editing the video, I'll be like back here and up here or over here, you know, something like that. So I get a little palette here, something we can put some color on. I just like using tape. Alright, we're going to take some of this. Like I say, this stuff is like smooth as butter, the oil does. And it actually dries pretty nice. So we're going to give us a little dab here. Look at that. Creamy like peanut butter. Peanut butter. Smooth peanut butter. So this is watercolor, so you notice how more kind of clumpy this is when it comes out. So this is burnt umber. And this one is raw sienna. So we're going to do a little bit of this guy right here. See how kind of clumpy that is? So we're going to take Mr. Sponge here, and we're just going to dab it on here, like so. Drop the frame a couple times, see if it holds together or breaks. Alright, we don't need it too thick. And we're just going to pick a random spot, and basically going to just start on one end, and I'll just work my way, because there's no sense of just going everywhere with it. So we're going to do top and bottom. So basically we'll start here. So it's almost like, well, why'd you paint it black? Well, because I'm not going to rust everything. I'm going to leave some spots there. And besides, once you start putting this on there, this will start drying pretty quick, and this here will start picking up the oil, and it'll leave the black on the back. It actually works pretty cool. It's probably not the best thing out there for this, but I think it works pretty nice. And I like using a sponge, because a sponge will actually leave a little texture. Or you can leave this a little thicker, and you can see that gives you kind of like a little texture already, just so it's not a smooth side frame like it'd be clean from the factory. So like I say, we're going to do the top parts first, and then we'll work our way back and around. And if you leave it clumpy, it's not going to hurt it, and it kind of adds to the fun, I guess. So this frame is going to be a little more in depth to do, just because it's going to take longer to try to get in between all the little nooks and crannies and crevices and all that good stuff. So we're going to try to work with what we can here. So you can see some of that black will show through, and that's kind of what the effect I want. So I know, you know, a lot of you guys in the northern states, you guys know how this stuff can look after a couple years, and it's usually there's nothing nice underneath of it. It's just like, wow, I can't believe you still drive that thing. You know, it's where a lot of these vehicles around here, I mean, they're just like, just rusted right up, you know, and they're not worth hardly anything just because they're so rotted. It's one of those type of deals where a tank of gas doubles the value of it, you know. So we're going to do something like that. And we'll go a little more, and then we'll let this dry for a little bit. And the reason I'm doing the top, because I'm going to rust the truck up pretty good, and there's probably going to be holes in the bed. So just in case there's something in there and you can see through it. This way here, it's just the whole thing is just good to go. There's supposed to be a spare tire cradle back here. I'm going to leave that off. I'm opting not to put it on. Alright, we got a little more done here, and I'll start using the other color, just kind of show you guys the gist of it. And then I'll probably do a lot of this off camera, and then I'll bring you guys back when I get majority of it done. This way you're not sitting there watching me pad this thing all day long. And we'll do the side of the frame and then we'll switch colors here. Like I said, I like the sponge just because it gives you a little texture to it. And once you cut it up, you can get it into some pretty small spots. Alright, that is good enough for where we're going. Okay, something like that. Let's lay that guy off the side and we'll switch colors. So now we're going to start with this guy here. Like I say, you can see this is a little different texture. A little more homemade jelly type thing here going on. Now we're just going to stipple it over right over top of this that we just did. But I'm not going to get too crazy and like do it the whole thing. I'm just going to go in spots. You can see how that kind of changes that a little bit. It's nothing major, it's just subtle. That's what we're after. Nice thing about it, it's rust, so there's really no rhyme or reason with it. So you can just kind of go lighter, harder with it. Now once that dries out, it'll dry a little bit darker. And like I say, get a little bit of the black shown through. And that's kind of what I'm after. I don't want it to where it's just fully, you know, just the other color. Which this is pretty much the color that rust would be anyways. The raw sienna. I think that's like your bright rust color. So basically I'm going to do this just kind of on the edging. And we're going to leave the kind of the brighter color more dominant. But we're going to do this where it'd be more, kind of more areas where it's going to be like crevices or maybe bolts or brackets. Anyways, that's how we're going to do it. And I'm going to just go through and rust the whole thing out. Now this here, I may just put this brown over the black on the springs. And it's got some transfer going on there, which is alright. Just kind of give it a little different tone. Alright guys, I'm going to go through and weather this up, and I will bring you back when we're getting about wrapped up here. Alright guys, so we got this pretty much rusted out. So now we're going to let this dry for a bit. So I left the front not as weathered or as heavy because the engine is going to be leaker, and usually that'll keep it a little more cleaner up front. So I kind of left the engine bay and the top of the front axle a little cleaner. So other than that, I think that turned out pretty cool. Like I said, at this point we're going to need to let it set because I'm smearing it a little bit. Now I did use a brush for some of the tight areas. Just kind of stippled it back and forth. But I did notice it does work nicer with the sponge. Doing two, but you know, if you guys are doing this, if you're going to do this method, either way works. You know, just whatever you're more comfortable with. Okay guys, so we're going to take our frame and we're going to add a little accent to it. So this is set for a couple days. It's still a little tacky. That's due to the oil. So the downfall about using the oil paints, and this is a biggie, is that this does take a long time to dry. That is the only downfall. So if you went ahead and just used the watercolors right up top, you wouldn't have had a problem. I mean, it'd dry pretty quick. But either way, you can let this dry for a few days and it would tack up pretty good. It's pretty decent, but if I really rubbed on it, it would smudge. But if you take and clear that, and obviously it's not something that's going to get handled all the time, we should be all right with it. So at this point, I took a Q-tip and just went over my leaf springs just a little bit, just to give them a little more of a darker hue to them. Other than that, we're going to take it over to the paint booth and we're going to spray some of this rust color. This is a local paint, which I doubt you can get this anymore. But I do know Vallejo makes a nice rust color. We're also going to do, we're going to take these rims. I painted these with a flat black. That's just a Tamiya. And we are going to paint these flat white. So we are going to use Tamiya, basically flat white. This is LP4. And I want to paint it on the black just so the black gives a little bit of shadow. And then we're going to come back and paint the hubs black once this is all painted. So we'll go over to the spray booth and let's get this shot. Alright guys, so back over at the paint booth, we got our rust color paint. We give these drive shafts a hit. Not gonna fill them all in at one time. Gonna come back and give them a second coat. So we're just hitting these here. This is our front drive shaft. I don't know why I kept thinking this was the back. So now we get that rear drive shaft shot. Like I say, I'm not looking to coat them completely the first time around. We'll just give them a couple light hits because this paint is really light. You can run this real easy. Nice paint, but just gotta take your time with it. It's one of those paints I wish they still made, that's for sure. So other than that, moving on to the frame. So the frame here, I'm not looking to do an overall. I'm just basically looking just to blend it, just kind of smooth it out a little bit. Other than that, I'm trying to stay away from that front end. I want to keep that a little more the black color, just due to my oil leak engine, which would kind of protect it from rusting. Kind of that cheap undercoating, you know. So I get the frame finished up, and then we're going to move on and change colors. So in the meantime, I give those drive shafts another shot after I shot the frame before color change. So we're ready to go. So frame's looking pretty good. So we're moving on to our second color, and this here I'm just giving it just some light hits. Not looking to give it an overall, just kind of the highlights, high spots, basically U-joints, where the slip shaft, the slip yoke is, where this, you know, at the splined area, and just give it a little overall here and there. Just kind of throw some colors out there on it. And we'll get the intermediate shaft done. Yeah, we're back on the frame. So like I said, we're just giving us a couple touches here and there. Nothing too crazy. And then after this, I decided to hit it with the wash. Just kind of see how that'd give me a little different tone on it once I finish this color up. So we got the wash out here. I really like this stuff. It's such a nice color, especially for the rust. So if these multiple colors blend together, I think it turned out pretty cool. And this really dries a nice flat too, so that's one thing I did notice with the Vallejo colors. They do seem like some of them do have a little bit of a shine to it. So this here will help it tone it down, flatten everything out kinda. So we'll give this just a few hits, and then we're gonna call the frame good to go. We'll stick her in the Suzy bake oven after this for a bit, and we'll let her dry. Alright, moving on to the rims. I don't know what happened, but I lost my video for the just painting the rims the first time, so I figured, well, I'll shoot the inside of the cab. Most of these Ford trucks, the interior was white on top. And then go back, shoot the rims one more time, and we'll call her good. Alright guys, so we got these painted the flat white. I put them in the Suzy bake oven for a bit, the old dehydrator. They weren't in there that long, but I did put them out I did coat it pretty heavy, because like I said, I kind of wanted it to dry. So at this point, we're going to put some dark rust around the edges. So I'm going to take some dark rust and just put it along where the two pieces would meet, and just a little bit here and a little bit inside here. And I might hit it with some of the black, the German color here, the brown black. I think this is kind of a cool looking color. It's almost a black, but it's got that off color. But for now, we're going to use these two guys, the Vallejo dark rust and the German black brown, and we're going to go from there. We'll see how it goes and see how it happens from that point. So once again, I'll throw some tape down to use as my piece here, and I'm going to use a fine tip brush out of the brush archives. This one here is a fine brush made in China, and it is some weird name I cannot pronounce, but that's what we're going to use. It's an F103, if that means anything to anybody. To me, no, it's just a small brush. So moving on, thought I'd fill you in some details just in case you're looking for something like that. So we're going to put just a little bit of this out here, and we're going to put just a little bit of this out here as well. I'm going to lose the glove. As you can see, these colors are pretty similar to each other, but on that white, you're really going to tell the difference. You know, I almost had to take a double look, like, did I put the same color down, or what do we got going on here? But we're good, we're good. So we're going to take some of this here and just a little on the brush. So this is thicker, and like I say, I want to go basically just between here. And like I say, it is rust, so you can just do whatever you want. So I don't want to keep it too fine. Kind of put it in like some blotchy. And maybe not even all the way across. Something like so. Like I said, guys, I don't do a lot of this, so I'm kind of amateur hour on this. I'm not like Mars and a lot of the other guys that do a lot of weathering. It's been a long time for me to do this, so it's, I mean, I kind of like it. It's different. It's something more enjoyable, because if you mess it up, it's not really like a, dang, how am I going to get that to shine now, or how am I going to get this to look like that? And just this here, it's just whatever you want. It's just kind of open rain. So it's kind of cooler in a way to do these, but so see, I went off a little bit like that. So basically at this point, I'm just gonna run the brush down to the end there, just like maybe the wheel was sitting like that for a long time and it just rusted down. So I get this back one a little bit more. So I'm gonna come back and do a little more in here. Just figure I'll get the base down first, just the basics. Kind of the areas I know I want to hit more than other. And you don't want to get carried away with it. I mean, it's because I think if you put too much on it, then it's, you know, it's almost like you're trying. You know, it's just kind of let whatever you think goes, whatever looks good. Just, I don't know if going too heavy is going to be the answer. So that's the case. I might as well just paint the whole thing and call it a day. I kind of felt I was getting that way at the frame. So it's basically like anything else, just going to build it up in little ends and different colors here. So being that's more of a shadowed area, we're going to kind of concentrate on that a little heavier. So now we're going to switch over to the other color here. So you really can't see the difference in color. It's a little bit of difference in contrast, not a lot. So I'm not going to go much on it, just in spots. Let's see, maybe on the back I'll do around the hubs a little bit. The other thing I noticed on this Vallejo paint, because like I say, I don't use it very often, I know some colors are kind of shiny. That's one thing I kind of liked when Floco had their colors out. I mean, you were guaranteed a rust color all said and done. So these hubs are going to be painted black when I'm done, or I could actually just take and hit them with this, because they're going to be rusty as well. Guess I can just paint them all with this here, give it a little more darker, different tone than the wheel. Like I said, we're just doing this as we go. So I'm not putting any hubcaps on this. I thought about putting that one hubcap on it and denting it up, you know, like heating it up and putting like a dent in the center of it. You know, like that one that wouldn't go on and some guy took a rubber mallet to it and just flattened it out trying to put it on. I thought about it, but that's like, well, we'll just leave it off. Whoops, wrong color. Wrong color. Yeah, like that. Looks pretty good. So we'll do all the hubs in that brown color. It looks pretty good. I was gonna do them in black, but I kind of like this better. Talk myself into it. I think we'll leave it at that. Leave it go, let it go. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this other color and try to do some of my lug nuts. Or at this point I could actually just take some black, just some black Tamiya. I may do that. I think that might look better. So I'll just take some flat black Tamiya. Alright, that's a nice clean brush. I'll get these painted and I'll bring you back because these are going to be a little tedious, I guess. So I'll bring you right back when we're done. Nothing too carried away. So I did the dark rust on the outside here on the hub, on the full float hub, and I did the Tamiya LP3 on the outside, kind of where your axle would slide in, and same for the front. We did the dark rusty inside, and then I mixed the dark rust from the German black brown on the inside, and I just took some Tamiya flat black and just basically touched the lug nuts. So at this point we're going to take some of this wash. We're going to see how this works, because I don't want to put it on super heavy, so I'm going to try to put some on here first. If I don't like the results, I'll throw a little bit in the airbrush. I mean, it's not that big a deal. I'd rather do that versus trying to, whoops, let's start over. And so I don't need a lot. I just want to, just a little bit on there. So we'll see what this looks like here. See how that's just barely colors it? That's all I'm looking for, just enough to shade it just a little bit. Like that. That's all I'm looking for, something like that. I don't want to dump it on the rim and then try to walk it through or walk it around. I think it might be too much, so I'm trying to be subtle with it. So I actually like a little more of the orange, like this wheel here is. Well, maybe it's too much. I guess the front wheel could look darker than the back. That'd probably look alright too. That one's going to see more of the crap. Like so. Something like that. We'll hit this one just a little bit more. Maybe leave it more on the outside. Something like that. Okay, so that one's a little on the heavy side, so I'll try to wipe some of that out. So nice thing about these colors, you can see I can just pick it back up with my brush and just thin it back out if it starts to settle or creep a little bit. That's kind of a cool thing I like about these paints. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. Yep. Okay guys, so we're getting ready to put that frame together. I got it in the oven yet, so before I take this up and we have a little paint left over, I'm using my little beauty sponges here and the drive shafts where our slip yokes or the splines are, and just dabbing it in where the darker spot would be for the splines on the drive shaft. Same with around the U-joint. Just give it a little extra. So I did the front one, and then we're going to do the back one. Or I'm sorry, that's the intermediate one. This is the front one. Get it straight here. So I'm just taking a little bit with the sponge, a little dip, not too heavy, and just work it in ever so lightly. And same with the U-joint side. We'll go a little bit down the drive shaft itself. Alright, now I'm going to go grab that frame. We're going to get all this stuff put together. Alright guys, we got our rusty frame. I think that looks pretty cool. So my oil's just a little tacky. I mean, it's pretty dry. And then we have the wheels. I set them in there as well, the rims. I think those turned out pretty cool. So it looks pretty good on there. So we can get our tires on there. We'll get this thing assembled quick. Alright guys, so we got our drive shafts in our transfer case. So now we're going to throw those shocks on. So I put one on already. So being I already put this together, they want you in the kit. They want you to assemble this all at one time. Or basically before you get to this point. So I'm going to do is I'm cutting the top of this off. Not quite all the way, but just a little bit. And same with the bottom. That way, because you're supposed to put this in and set the axle in with it. But obviously the way I'm doing it, it's not going to work that way. So we're just going to give her a little dab of glue. And same as a little bit here. Like I say, this frame is just a tad wet yet. Just because of those oil paints. So I mean, if that's something you guys don't want to deal with, and then obviously you're going to want to stay clear of those. So we could cut them just a little bit. That worked good. I'll put the homemade shocks in the back. Okay, so like that. And our shocks in. Pretty cool. So there's the frame. So now we'll get these wheels put together and we'll get them put on, and I'll bring it back and we're going to wrap this up for tonight. Okay guys, for the back of our wheels, for the backing plates, or basically the drums, I had these painted flat black, so I'm taking some of this this light rust color. This is Vallejo 301, and I'm basically just doing a dry brush on those. So not a lot, just a little bit to put on here, and just once I get on, I just let it just kind of soak its way in. So like so. Paint your fingers along the way just to make sure it's all good. When that dries, it gives it a nice kind of a different color. I want it different than the rest of the body and everything. Okay, we're gonna get them assembled and put this thing together here. Okay, so we're gonna get our drill out, just a socket gig, and just run it with just a sanding stick. And I'm going to take one of these, I'm just going to sand it right down to nothing. So I'll probably do the first one. So I'll get these sanded down and I'll bring it back. Alright guys, with some extensive sanding, we get these sanded down. I tried to make one almost bald, but I tell you what, I had to break out the big guns and put some real heavy sandpaper out to do that, because this tread was just taking a while to cut down. So putting the last one on here. You guys putting these on, these Mobius kits give you these ridges here. You're going to want to put these in from this way, because if you put them this way, it's going to leave lines across your tire. So I just pop them in from the back and bring them forward. That way it doesn't give you any rough edges on your tire. So you can see right here, it gives those lines right there. So on the inside, and they pretty much don't wipe off. So just a little bit of something if you're installing those, you don't want to mess them up too much. But yeah, that one looks pretty cool. I kind of like that. I got another one that's wore down pretty good. This one here is pretty decent. Alright guys, it's going to wrap this part of this up. I think that's turning out pretty cool. So that's where we're at right now. So it went on pretty nice. So I got my somewhat bald tire in the back here. Probably not posi track, so I got the one wheel tire fire going on. And all that good stuff. So that's where we're at for the build right now. So the wheels are completely glued down, nothing rolls. I don't really like my models to roll too much this way, or I don't have to worry about them falling off the table somewhere, anything like that. So hindsight, doing this over again, like I say, it's been a bit since I've done weathering. I probably would have steered clear of the oil paint, just because it does take a long time to dry out. It's not a big issue, because at this point I'm pretty much done with the frame. And when I was handling it, I mean, if I took and rubbed this really good, probably a lot of that would come off. But like I say, it was easy to work with. And I mean, it don't come off on your fingers or anything like that, but it's just probably hindsight, I probably would have used more of an acrylic, basically like the other color was, like a water-based paint, and went with that. But I didn't have any here, so I just went with what I kind of had in stock, basically. But anyways, I'll know next time I go to the old HL or Hobby Lobby, I'll grab one of those in just the watercolor, because those actually work really nice. They're not as like smooth like I said before, but it works good though. I mean, I'm okay with it. Just like I say, if you guys are doing this way, I'd probably steer clear of the oil. Like I say, it's working okay, don't get me wrong, but it just takes a lot longer to dry. And like I say, I'm pretty impatient most of the time. So, but other than that, I think this turned out pretty cool so far for where we're at. I think I might dull that T case out just a little bit more, because it's kind of has it, hey, look at me, I'm shiny. Okay guys, so we're going to wrap this up. Appreciate you guys following along on the build. If you guys interested in one of these model kits, go down and check out Hobby Model. He's got some of these in stock down there. So it's a really nice model. It'd be really nice to build it just as a stock, nice clean builder. But other than that, I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking out the channel. So once again, you guys have a good one, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.